I love how that music just gets that energy moving. And here we are, our sixth in this series of the fruits of Spirit. And today, the good in all. These virtues, these principles, these fruits are guidestones for awakening us, for giving us the wisdom to discern what is ours to do, what's available for us, and how we can acknowledge that we cannot change God, but we're changing ourselves to awaken to God. It is good. And today, our cornucopia of fruits, we've identified the apple with goodness. The apple, an apple a day, the apple of my eye. Apple is a significant fruit for pointing us towards goodness. Now, of course, the goodness we're talking about is not the good of good and bad. We're talking about the goodness of, like our statement of faith, God, the good, omnipotent, always good, unchanging. And these values in our lives give us substance. They give us a point of connection. If this doesn't look like good in my life, what is it and why is it there for me? So let's let this apple give us a guidepost as we go forward in looking at goodness. The first quote is here from Reverend Vera Dawson Tate. We don't hear her name very often, but a woman in unity who speaks clearly, a wonderful author, says, of God, we can say all is good. Of ourselves, we can say we are working to prepare ourselves to bring forth the good already prepared by God. This is our journey. We know God is good. We know the amazing outworking of this creation of life is so good. And we know that in our own life, the things we've created and we've nurtured and we've grown has been good. And yet, can you say that everything in your life right now is good? Absolute good? If you can say that, you should probably come up here and give the talk rather than me. Because I have to admit that there's still times in my life where I'm not actually connecting with the good of it. Because I'm right. And when I'm right, I'm not calling on my good, I'm calling on my opinion that you're wrong and I'm right. That's not good. That's not good. But, as this quote from Reverend Marianne Williamson, Unity Minister, great author, try to see the good in others. When you're tempted to judge someone, make an effort to see their goodness. Your willingness to look for the best in people will subconsciously bring it forth. Now this is powerful Because then our relationships with our family, with our partners, with our bosses, our colleagues, our community, are opportunities for us to see the good. When there's a point of conflict, someone's going, yum, 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 it might be the best thing to do with a little effort is to breathe and say, tell me more. Tell me more. Acknowledging them. Listening to them. We don't have to agree with them, but we can come to an understanding of their principle. And at the same time, see the goodness in them. The God in them, the Christ in them, that's in each of us. And then we can have a conversation. We can have not one of conflict, but one of conversation. It truly is worthwhile the effort, and it does take effort to pull back our resentment and judgment and to see the good. And it changes us because it changes the automatic pilot that runs in our head, our subconscious. And we can awaken to being present to everyone and treating them with the same goodness we would treat with someone that we just love to be with. It's possible. It does take some work, but it's worthwhile. Yes? I've been using a lot of quotes from Lao Tzu. Now, Lao Tzu wrote 571 years before Christ. A long time ago. And yet this wisdom is so clear. It's so easy to relate to. And this is no exception. Here he says, treat those who are good with goodness. And also treat those who are not good with goodness. Thus, goodness is attained. Similarly, be honest to those who are honest, and also honest with those who are not honest. Thus, honesty is attained. This is the very principle that the great spiritual leader, Jesus, used in his life. Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa, the great leaders who have pointed out into the world saying, it's all good. We're all in this together. And we can work it out. So that whether we're bringing goodness, or we're bringing peace, or bringing wisdom, or we're bringing love. Because being love when there's not love is being loving. It's creating an environment of love. And this is true for our topic today, goodness. It's part of our journey to walk as human beings, and we bump into other human beings, and sometimes there's conflict. Sometimes there's a challenge for us to bring the higher truth, which allows change to happen. And it doesn't happen overnight. Gandhi spent his entire lifetime holding an attitude of peace, of reconciliation, of standing with people who had a different opinion and held on to the goodness. And what happened? It changed the entire nation. It happens in our own life, in how we relate to our children or grandchildren or nieces and nephews, seeing the good in them despite their behavior. And sometimes you have to hold on that goodness for a long time before it's realized. But we're not in charge. We're in the activity of life, co-creating our experience. And there's some big challenges. I have some big challenging relationships in my life. And they've grown, and they've expanded, and they've come to a place where I can have a conversation with where it used to be a huge challenge. So I know this works. Desmond Tutu, a great religious leader, says, God's dream is that you and I and all of us will realize that we are family. That we're made for togetherness, for goodness, for compassion. Now, I think this is true. And we have unity. Our own name points to this truth. We are one. But it's an ideal to work towards. When you come down to technically, we truly are all one family. But our behavior and the way we relate to each other is, oh, well, they do it that way, and they're wrong. This global pandemic that we've been part of is a rare occurrence, an experience that every living human on the planet has had some effect by COVID-19. It's touched every human being. That doesn't happen very often. It's rare that we have that kind of a situation. And what does that bring forth? A global pandemic. I've held the vision from the very beginning of this pandemic that oneness we experience as a global human family, experiencing something together, gives us an opportunity to relate in togetherness, to choose goodness and a whole lot of compassion. So the question I have for you is, in all of your relationships, in your neighborhood, your family, in your work, whatever you do, how can you bring forth togetherness? How can you hold goodness no matter what? And how can you be more compassionate? If we don't take what we hear on Sunday or what we read from the daily word or from classes and workshops, if we don't take it into how we're going to live our lives, it's not worth anything. But our fifth unity principle is that we take action. We chew on it. We make it our own. And when we can identify this is my truth, then do something with it. It's good. And to bring this full circle in the good in all, we turn to the Bible. Genesis chapter 1, verse 31. This is the creation story. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. Everything God creates is good. It's ours to see the good, to be the good, and open ourselves to the good. Are you ready to do that? It's a good day. Thank you.
Step out on the water.